Across the Islamic world, the birth of the Prophet Muhammad, an observance known as Mawlidun-Nabi, draws millions of people into the streets for a massive public holiday. The celebration takes on distinctly local flavors depending on the region. In Indonesia, for example, communities carry tall, tiered structures made of food through their neighborhoods as a display of collective devotion. But if you search the historical record for these gatherings during the Prophet's own lifetime or among his immediate companions, you find an absolute void. Even the exact date of his birth is unrecorded in early traditions. It remains a matter of scholarly disagreement, or ikhtilaf. Most Sunni Muslims recognize the 12th of the month of Rabi al-Awwal, while many Shia Muslims assert it falls on the 17th. Because of this lack of early scriptural precedent, two major Islamic states, Saudi Arabia and Qatar, officially refuse to recognize the day as a holiday. Tracing the evolution of this disputed date reveals how human culture and political power shape religious practice over centuries. In the earliest centuries of Islam, observing the Prophet's birth was a quiet, private matter, typically marked by individuals choosing to fast on Mondays. The first shift toward a formalized event happened in Egypt under the Fatimid dynasty, who made the date a formal royal court procession that excluded the general public. The public festival seen today dates to the year 1207, initiated by a Sunni general named Gokbori in the city of Erbil. Gokbori slaughtered thousands of animals to feed the local population, organizing a massive banquet that cost an estimated 300,000 silver dirhams. This investment altered the nature of the day. By expanding a private fast into a lavish public feast, rulers used the occasion to solidify political patronage and bond their communities through shared celebration. The practice expanded until 1588, when the Ottoman Empire officially institutionalized it as a state holiday known as Mevlid Kandil. At the same time, Sufi mystics were integrating their own practices into the holiday, shifting the tone of the event from a royal banquet to a deeply emotional, spiritual carnival. These gatherings centered around the recitation of specific religious poetry in praise of the Prophet, like the famous Qasida al-Borda, which allowed even children to actively participate in the devotion. The poetry was soon joined by torchlight processions, music, and widespread food distribution, pushing the celebrations out of the mosques and into the streets. The union of Ottoman state sanction and the emotional resonance of Sufi mysticism moved Mawlid from a tool of the ruling class into a permanent grassroots cultural movement. Today, those centuries of accumulated traditions are deeply woven into the cultural fabric of dozens of nations across Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. However, the late 20th century saw the rise of a concerted ideological pushback, driven largely by the strict scriptural interpretations of the Salafi movement. Salafi scholars categorize the celebration of birthdays as bid'ah, an unlawful religious innovation. They argue that any practice not explicitly endorsed by the Prophet or his companions has no place in the faith. This strict interpretation now dictates official state policy. Inside the city of Medina, at the very site where the Prophet is buried, the government strictly prohibits any celebration of his birth. Mainstream Sunni and Shia scholars counter this opposition by defending the festival. They view the public gatherings, the charitable distributions, and the spoken poetry as valid expressions of love for the Prophet. Mawlid-un-Nabi acts as a 1,400-year historical mirror, reflecting exactly how a faith adapts to shifting politics, diverse geographies, and the human desire for shared celebration.